Hello, YTPC. It's Dave coming to you from Southern Maryland. It's coming up on 5 o'clock on Sunday evening. Probably most of the night, but most of the United States, most of the nation probably has a little bit of Sunday night blues today. This is I think pretty much. I know some of you have already gone back to work, but pretty much all the universities kick back off, and everybody, all the companies have kind of report back to work. So I can feel it out there. It's sort of a depressing. It's been a great few weeks, and now we got to go back to real life. Let's see. All we got was rain last night, and then so it was like 38 and raining all day, and pretty much into the late evening. Late evening. And I woke up today, and now it's 50 and bright and sunny out. So, Maryland's got a little bit of, she's got some bipolarness in her weather, and it's manifest today. So as always, Maryland Meerschaum, and what's in it? Black Twist. And again, I like this because it's the shredded, rubbed out. I'm not sure what to say, but versus the rope. And Johnny over at 2 a.m. Pipe on the Patio, he continually states this is his favorite, and I understand why. It tastes really good. I don't know what the topping is on it. I don't know what the casing is, if it's cased or topped, but it does taste very good. I don't know if you guys ever, if you are presenters, if you have a pipe, you have a bowl that's smoking so well, you almost don't want to start doing your vid. That's where I was. This thing's probably about 75% done now. I just didn't want to start the vid because it was smoking so well. And now that I've started the vid, I probably won't be able to keep it lit. It's like your pipe can tell when your camera's running. It doesn't want to behave when you're on camera. I have a question for you presenters. I don't need to know the answer. I don't even really care what the answer is, but some of you really talk about your channels. What can you do to make them better, or how can you have more influence? And one idea I have for you, or the question I have for you is, once you've finished recording your vid, whether you edit it or not, you go back and watch your vid before you post it. That's just something I'd flat out recommend. Before you put it up, watch it end to end, get the experience that the user or the consumer or the watcher or the subscriber base or new people who touch you, what are they going to experience as they consume your product? I think it might change how you do things. It might not. You might not care enough to do it. I'm just suggesting to you, for me, that's one way I improve what I put up as a product. So hopefully that helps. Again, you don't have to respond to me. I mean, who am I to ask you questions? I just putting it out there as an idea. Do you watch your videos before you put them up? That's it. Guys, I want to do a shout out to Jim, Corvette Jim over at CJ's Garage. He put up a vid not too long ago, actually. I happened to catch it right before I kind of came in and got some paddock work done, and then I sat down and watched some videos, and Jim's is one of the first ones I watch. He's usually one of the first ones I watch every day. And I have to say, the one he put up was one of the gutsiest videos I've seen in a long time. For a man to open up and kind of talk about the rock bottom condition that he got into a couple years ago and how he got there, and wow, that was huge. That touched me immensely. So I just want to say thank you, Jim. That was a big deal. And then I put it in a comment, but I want to say it to a more generic way, and that is that sentence he said about that, by him living there, that keeps mom out of a home. And that's pretty amazing. If you think about someone He may needed a place to live, but he could be off trying to figure out a better solution for himself, and yet he's choosing to stay and take care of mom, keep her out of a home. That's gutsy, and I typed in, that's love in action. Normally posts the frustrating side of that equation, so you've seen some of the sacrifices he has to make on a day-to-day basis. But today he came out and said, it's because I love my mom. He didn't say those words, but that's what he said. I feel like we're in a similar situation in my family. My wife and I are primary care providers for Anne Marie's mom, and the goal is to keep her in her home as long as possible, and if she needs to go anywhere, she'll come to our home. She's not going to at home. Jim, I just want to say thanks, man. That was gutsy, and I think you should be called out for that. More of us should be like what you were this afternoon. A bunch of you are responding by sending me stuff, sending me your addresses, your mailing address, your email address, your cell phones, and I appreciate that. I believe I've finally gotten through them all, whether you used through Messenger or Facebook or email or texting. I pretty much have got everybody that's responded to me into my database. So I keep it in an Excel spreadsheet, and I put it in my contacts database, so I have it in 2 places. I believe I've responded to everybody who has sent me something. So if you're watching this and you said, hey, I sent you my email address, I sent you my mailing address, or I sent you my cell phone, and I didn't hear back from you, assume I screwed up and just resend it. And if you haven't sent anything to me and you're watching my vids, think about it. If you would, ponder it. Smarty Bob, I have no way to get a hold of you. So if someone would poke Smarty Bob for me. Piper Can, I got everything. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. You guys poked him for me, and he came back. So thanks for that. Smarty Bob, I think, is my next target. Anyways, thanks for helping me do this. It's a great way for me to be able, if I want to send a gift or do something fun, it's really the only way I can do it if people send me stuff. So it's just a gratuitous ask for your information. And so a little update on my kids' travel. I was telling you that my boy had real trouble. They had to abort takeoff and canceled his flight, and he just had to go take care of himself, getting him on another flight, which he did. He got home. I gave you that update. But United lost his bag. I mean, totally lost it. Like, they had no idea where it was when he got to Denver yesterday. So, he was pretty upset last night. And that really sucks, as most of you have kids older than me, but it really sucks as your kids get older and turn into functioning adults. They have or discuss or bring you problems you can't really do anything about. And that's frustrating. But then it ends well. So I just want to end the story right. I'm not mad at United. I mean, I'm not sure they're better or worse than any airline out there anymore. I think they're all on the same level of lack of customer support. But they brought his bag to his house today. They didn't give him any updates. They didn't call him or email or anything. But a guy showed up in a van delivering lost luggage and handing him his bag, undamaged and full. So, wow. It ends well. So, still doesn't want to talk about it much. He said, don't ask me about my trip. So, I'm respecting that. But it ended well. Thank God he got there safe. He got there like 8 hours late, but his bag showed up. So, anyway, just thought I'd give you one of those little stories. It could have made it Suckville, but it turned out okay. Guys, I'm going to try to take a hodgepodge of beliefs and thoughts and put them coherently into a video here. I am a huge believer in personal responsibility. That comes to a little bit of Jim's video. Hey, I'm going to shout out, who's your marshal? Scott. I like that guy. he and I are having a good exchange, not here, but text, email. He's a cool guy. We're poking each other a little bit, and I like that. We're having a good conversation. So anyway, hopefully everyone here already knows who he is, right? But if you don't, who's your marshal? Go listen to him. The guy's a police chief. I respect immensely what he does for a living. When you're a police chief, I believe it's probably an appointed position, so he has to not only face the shit on the street, the stuff that we don't have to face. We hear about it, we read about it, we see YouTube videos about it, but he has to strap on a badge and a gun and go out and deal with it and direct the lives of his force to go do the same. And as the chief, he's got to go deal with the people who appoint him, probably decide if he keeps his job or not, and push for funding and fighting lack of funding and all that. It's a tough job. It's a feather in his cap. It's a great capstone to a long career. But a lot of people don't realize those top spots are tough because you do the law enforcement side and the politics side, and that is tough. One of the things that Who's Your Marshal asked me to talk about one day, so I'm going to try it today, is we're spending so much money on law enforcement, and are we too soft on crime? And so I'm probably going to be, I'm a recovering politician, so I'm probably going to answer the question I wished he'd asked me, but I'm going to try and keep my answer close to what he's asked for. And it tracks. That's what, as I kind of wrote my thoughts down to respond to his request, that's where the concept came to me of, I think it all fits under the umbrella of personal responsibility. It's our job to take care of ourselves. It's our job to take care of our problems. It's our job to prevent problems for ourselves and for those who rely on us for such things. It's our responsibility to be proactive and keep things as much as possible. Life throws us curveballs. We get hit by karma train now and then. I get it. But it's our responsibility to be proactive and have to try to push those problem windows out in front of us so we can deal with them before they truly impact us or our families. One of the concepts I'd like to make sure everyone understands is our law enforcement agencies in the United States are the front door, and only the front door, to the larger, what we call the justice system. And throughout most of my adult life, I've been on the law enforcement side. I spent 25 years deep inside supporting the FBI. I didn't carry the badge. I was a contractor. And I had 500 people embedded, mostly in the FBI. So I truly understand the operations of that organization. I served 8 years as essentially county executive in my county. So budget prioritizations and things like that, I truly understand. I was lucky enough to serve at a time where my priorities seemed to map to the communities. To me, number one was law enforcement. I believe it is, in fact, the bedrock upon which civil society is based. For me, number two was fire and rescue. Number three was education. And number four was economic development. I feel like if you don't take care of those four pillars, the rest is very hard to do. People want to talk about parks and recreation and soccer fields and commute times, stuff like that. And that's icing on the cake, but the cake are those four things, and it all sits on top of law enforcement. And you see cities that do it poorly, and they really can't move on to the other priorities. I mean, you talk about Chicago, talk about Baltimore, which is just 40 minutes from my house. And in those 8 years, I served quite a bit on national committees, state level committees, and most cities have the same problem. If you take your eye off of the law enforcement ball, pretty much your city goes to shit. I don't care, red or blue, I don't care. conservative or progressive, I don't care. You have to maintain a just society, or the rest of your priorities don't care. It's very hard to be entrepreneurial in an environment where law enforcement is not strong and supported. It's impossible to run a business. It's hard to be too worried about your kids, or being in one of the top 10% of the academic achievement people if they can't get to school safely and stay in school safely. So anyway, that's just that was huge for me. And I do think we're getting soft on crime. I think we're getting soft on the concept of personal responsibility in our society. As individuals, I think we are, and as head of households, I think we are. But as a community and as a nation, I think we are losing the concept of personal responsibility in our country. Some of my best friends carry the badge and carry the gun, both here in my county, here in Calvert County, Maryland, and in my new home, where we'll be going out next week, is in Wyoming, specifically Jackson Hole. I made some very good friends out there already who are on the front lines. I mean, wear the uniform, wear the badge, carry the gun, and a couple of them are in special ops. So, I hear the stories. And there's a growing frustration on those who protect us. That thin blue line that you always hear about. I think it's thinner than ever. And it's because of how we treat them. Many of them are scared to do their jobs today because they fear prosecution. Can you imagine that? Law enforcement is a lifestyle. It is a commitment. It's not a job. It doesn't pay all that well. And most of the guys go into it because it fits them and they enjoy that life. But then they go and do it and they either get prosecuted for it, reprimanded for it, or they see the fruit of their labor go right back out the door. So they spend their shift taking the people off the street who want to hurt you and your family. And before they're off their shift, that person is back out on the street. And I think that is not the way to run a civilized society. We're teaching them that if they shoot someone in the line of duty and it's a justified shoot, they can still be prosecuted for it. Some places are actually taking police officer immunity away and are not even supporting them with their legal defense. And to me, that is truly insane behavior for an organized or civil society. All the movements a few years ago to defund the police, like, let's just remove them. For anyone to actually support that, I don't think they have any idea what the other side of that kind of motion would produce. And then I guess the last one is, I see this particularly in California, but I'm worried other municipalities will take it on. I see it mainly in San Francisco and LA, where it's now legal to walk into a store and steal up to $900 every day. As long as the theft stays under $900, not only can nothing be done, like a police officer can't even respond, store security can't do anything about it. The criminal element knows, this has turned into a job now. And I think the part, the unintended consequence of laws like that is the politicians believe they're taking care of the underprivileged class by allowing them to steal, because they're just stealing bread and milk, right? They're just stealing baby formula. And that nothing could be further from the truth. And in fact, it is now organized crime is going in and they have, they're fronted by gangs most of the time, but they go in and you have your territory and you have your store representatives, and they go in every day and steal $848 worth of stuff every day. And what we're doing is serving organized crime and gang crime. We are not taking care of the underprivileged, the underclass. And so I'm going to leave it there for a minute. The other example that we are living in modern times with is the southern border. And it may not be the southern border, but that's where the organized attempt to break down our society is happening right now. So I said one of my beliefs, I think my number one belief is that law enforcement is the bedrock upon which civilized society sits on, and if you don't take care of that foundation, the rest of it crumbles. The other one I'll say is any sovereign state must have closed and monitored borders. And unfortunately, we've become a society where that sentence means you're racist. And I just refute that. I mean, people can say that to me, which is fine. Go ahead. I don't really care. I think it's wrong. I do think that, immigration is something we should allow. In fact, a lot of shit would not get done in the United States today if we didn't allow immigration. I own a horse farm. Two of my employees, I went to Mexico and got Mexicans. I give them visas. They're here legally. And now one of them I gave a green card to. And the other one might get a green card as well. But I had to go outside the U.S. because nobody wants to work like that. Trust me, I tried for like 5 or 6 years. So I'm not anti-immigration. And this thing, we do all these semantics now. They're not illegal. They're undocumented. And I think that's wrong. I mean, they're both. But I just want to come out and say it kind of for Hoosier, but also for all of us as part of the conversation to say it. And it's okay to say it. I think open borders are wrong. And I think any country that tries to run open borders eventually crumbles. And I think we're head of the way of Rome a little bit if we keep this up. We've had several million people come over that border now. We don't know who they are, and we don't know where they are now. And I think that's wrong. And so that feeds into these other problems that I've talked about. The laws, the crime we're seeing in our inner cities, the crime we're seeing that's being allowed. It's being fed by our southern border policy. And I think all of that is woven into a tapestry of trying to change what we think of as the United States. Another thing I think we've got horribly wrong in today's society is that it's not your fault. It's not your fault you broke into somebody's house. It's not your fault that you had to steal. And I think that is absolutely wrong to try to be teaching the next couple of generations behind me. I think is wrong. It is your fault. It is absolutely your fault. And in my opinion, you took the easy way to deal with your issues when you could have taken other ways. I think there are jobs to be had. There are housing funds to be made available. There's even education. Now, hell, we're paying for hotels and cell phones, but that's kind of my southern border problem. I think people who choose to turn to crime to solve their problems are making a decision they should be held responsible for. And I don't think we're doing that. In fact, I think we're doing the opposite. I think we're teaching the world that it's not your fault to be a criminal. It's our fault that you're a criminal. It's society's fault to be, that you're a criminal. And I think we should step back from those policies. I think we should get back to funding law enforcement. I think we should get back to teaching it is your responsibility and it is your fault. We should get that southern border closed. I don't think any of those things are going to happen, but I wanted to get out here and say some tough things on video and take a risk. You see Greg's, you see Tunnel Takes video. That's a ballsy man. Put all that shit out there. I happen to agree with most of what was on his video, but I wanted to step up a little bit and get a little riskier and say some things that I have core beliefs in. And who's your Marshall's question kind of gave me an opportunity to do that. So I don't know if I ramble all over the world. I don't really know if I made good points or not, if they made sense to you on that side of the camera. But I wanted to get back to him and say, I don't think we spend enough on law enforcement. I think it's now misguided, the way we spend money on law enforcement. And southern border, personal responsibility, and not taking care of the back door of our justice system are causing us real problems. Scott, I hope that touched on your questions. If not, beat me up, man. Do it in public. Do it in the comments. Make a video back to me if I totally missed the mark. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be honest and hit the mark. Guys, that's it. I'm going to end it. Probably a long video. I've been doing a bunch of little pieces here. Have a good Sunday night. And I believe we'll talk again tomorrow, you guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.